Hello, and welcome to Darts the John Lowe Way. What does make a darts champion? Well, today, over the next hour and a half, we are hoping to answer some of the questions that everybody, at some time or another, who plays darts and watches darts, would like to ask. To have a success in any sport, obviously, is a magnificent achievement. What we have for you today is a person who has won over 1,000 titles, including 5 World Cup gold medals, and every single major championship success has come this young man's way. Probably the highest accolade of all is the fact that he has been made the captain of his country. I, of course, refer to John Lowe.
Hi, Phil.
Hello, John. Hello.
Hello there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I hope will be a good hour and a half of not expert tuition, but as near as we can get, through a lot of careful hours practice, many, many thousands of hours. Some that's not hard chore, seems to be, but not always is. Today we try and give a little insight into the game to the people that would like to know a little bit more, the ones that can go into a pub or a youth club or whatever, throw the 3 darts, score 100, and say, great, I've made it. But in actual fact, when he comes to play his match, he shakes like a leaf, his legs go, he gets nervous, and he can't actually perform the game at all. There's a lot of people play darts, as we know, worldwide. Some that are very fit and healthy, some that are not. You know, all you need, I say, is one good arm, one good eye, a good pair of legs to stand on, and you're away. And a set of darts, obviously. But there's a lot of people who've not even got them qualifications, and we should sort of give them a mention as well, that they perform quite well in their own sort of game, some in wheelchairs, some that do the paraplegic Olympics and things like that, who also enjoy this game. So it's not just for the man who's, you know, 100% fit.
Although we're going to be concentrating very much on improvement and success today, of course we mustn't forget the enjoyment of the game. That is a very, very fundamental ingredient of any sport.
Of course it is. As I say, you don't have to be 50 to enjoy it. You can be 6-year-old and still enjoy it. Remember, if you are 6-year-old, that darts is a very dangerous sport. Should always be played under supervision of an adult. They're very sharp, a set of darts like these I've got here. And if a youngster is allowed to throw them around, the dog, the cat, anyone can get injured. So it's not just for the middle age, as you say. Enjoyment can be from 6-year-old up to 90. Anyone can enjoy it, and you don't have to be a winner. That's the big thing about it. You don't have to be a winner.
Sometimes it's just as important to know how to lose as how to win.
It is, but there's a lot of people that never want to be a champion. They never want to be a pub champion, a youth club champion, or a world champion. They just want to go out there, spend a couple of hours just throwing darts, but they'd like to put them in the right place. They'd like to score a treble 20.
Well, that's what we're going to be here today for, to see if we can help them go in the right place. But we're going to have to start off somewhere, and you're going to be teaching me as much as the people out there, don't forget, John. We're going to have to start off somewhere, and of course that is actually the place where they put the darts. And of course, we've got a ball down here now, John.
Well, here we are, Phil. We have a standard clock board, the one that you can buy mostly in any sports shop, anywhere in the country. It comes complete with this little bracket here, which is very important. That is to hold the board on the wall. I mean, obvious. But make sure that when you do fasten it to the wall that it's securely fixed if your dad's doing it, or a youth club leader, or a competition secretary. These, if they fall on your toe,
I can imagine.
Believe me, you're going to break a few bones in there. But let's explain the board. This is a clock board with doubles. There's this ring here, trebles or triples if you're American. This is the bull, centre bull, American again, a cork, and that's a semi-bull with 25. We'll explain the scoring of the boards later, but there are many, many other types of boards, or ones in Yorkshire, for instance, that don't have this ring, just doubles. And they get rid of that ring as well because there's no double bull.
Do they play the conventional darts game on there, John?
They do, yes, but they don't. You obviously can only score, the top score is double 20. And then in Manchester they use a smaller board which is 12 inches across, made of elm, which is a log end, appropriately, off the tree. Is a log end board which they have to soak to keep its moisture so the darts stick in. I think in London as well they still use the elm board, which is exactly a clock board without the colours.
But made of a different material?
Yes, made of wood, elm, or I think they use another substitute as well. So right, we've got the board. In the back of the board, the screw fits in the old provided. That is the centre. And all we do is we just, when that's fixed, put it up on the wall. That was a good shot, wasn't it?
And that comes, John, as a complete package.
That's right.
The brackets,
you buy it exactly as it is. Whatever make of board is entirely up to either the stockist that you're buying it from or what you prefer yourself. We've got a tyre because we're doing this professionally today, so we put this round the outside to make it look better. It's more pleasant to the eye, stops the sharp edge. If you're doing it at home, then they're still good to have because it saves you wallpapering.
Yeah, so it's not purely cosmetic. It has got some function, I should imagine.
It has. On TV when we play, it's obviously a big part of the game because it blends in, makes the set look professional. At home, it's still got a very big part to play if you want to put a board straight on the wall without a cabinet to put it in. It saves, I say, holes everywhere and having to replaster.
Now, you're talking about a lot of people I do know have boards at home. Are there any do's and don'ts as far as about putting a board up in home?
There are. First of all, we must say that from the centre of that bull to the floor has got to be exactly 5 feet 8. Exactly. Don't put it an 1/8 high or an 1/8 low because the thickness of that wire is almost an 1/8. And that can be the difference between, if you're throwing a treble 20, it can be the difference between a big score and 40 points less of 20. So make sure if someone's doing it for you, if you're a youngster or whatever, that the board's put right, exactly at the right height. Now, secondly, yes, don't go and fix it on the back of a door. If someone opens the door and you throw in a dart, he's going to look a bit silly with one stuck in his...
Indeed.
And it's very dangerous again. So fix it on a wall, a solid wall somewhere, where you've also got plenty of room to throw.
And way away, of course, from anyone who's got any access to walk through, and anywhere like that, because obviously darts hitting wires, they do come out.
That's right.
Quite dangerous.
They do. They bounce out of the board. Also remember that you want it in a place where you don't want to keep putting it up, taking it down, putting it up. You want to be able to put it up there, make it a nice piece of furniture. Buy a nice cabinet. Put it in a cabinet with doors on that you can fasten when you're not using it.
Exactly.
You can put it over the dining room table, providing you make it look right, you know.
But at all times, the centre of the bullseye, this is the important part about hanging a board, centre of the bullseye must be 5 feet 8 inches?
It must be exactly 5 feet 8. The bracket we saw on the back when you're fixing, if you make it to the hole in the centre of the bracket 5 feet 8, that will put the board exactly where it should be.
Right.
We must relate that in certain parts of the country, Manchester for instance, the ladies play off 5 feet 6. There's a ladies' league 2 inches lower. We're not saying they're wrong. What we're illustrating today is that is the international throw.
That's the standard norm.
It's the standard, the international standard normal throw now that we use for all major competitions. If you're going to be a champion, practice at the right throw, at the right height.
Just a point, John, while the board is now in position, you've got your board in position, obviously I think everyone would know that the 20 segment must be at the top. I notice we've got a multicoloured board here, but basically the segments are divided into, on this particular occasion, black and beige. Is there any rule governing what colour should be at the top?
There is, yes. There's a rule that the red treble must always be in treble 20. Must always be there. Now, don't ask me why. It's just that that's been a set rule what's always gone on, always said. I think it's the manufacturers who decided if they use all the colours, the board will last longer. So they decided to use every other one so it wears out in half the time. I'm sure that's the reason. You can get some boards where the bull is black. So there's no reason why. I mean, it always used to be called a black bull, never a red bull. Again, I don't know. Red usually refers to a bull. It's one of the questions that's not too important. We don't really need to decide on colours. Because in London, as I say again, the board, on the elm board, is all one colour. So you can't pick which colour double you want anyway, or treble. But TV-wise, competition-wise, red treble. Start off like that, and you don't have to cause any...
Yeah. Now, in my particular case, this is where you and I differ, and we do differ in many ways when it comes to playing darts, I assure you. But in my particular case, I would think that the 5 and the 1, and possibly, if I was lucky, the 18, they would be receiving much more attention than a lot of the other segments. Now, I mean, you don't just buy a dartboard and then just wear out one segment and throw it away, surely?
Well, the manufacturers, again, have been very nice to us, really. They've made it so the wire comes off. That wire clips off over there, as you can see. Just comes over, and you can spin the board. Obviously, take the wire off and turn it round to the next number.
So, in fact, any black segment or one with the red treble, as you've said earlier, that can become the treble 20.
Of course it can, yes. But if you move the board, say, once every week, if you're practicing at home, unless you play 30 hours a day, put as much as you can in, then you're going to wear one out. But a life of these boards at home, playing weekly, should last at least 3 years, if looked after.
It's still advisable just to keep turning the board periodically if you are particularly good on one segment, I suppose.
That's right. You should turn it anyway. Keep it well turned so it wears out evenly. You don't want one part worn out and the others all in good shape. And then when it comes to the end of the board, you say you've not got your lifespan out of it. They should last quite a long while, and usually they're priced somewhere, anything up to £17, £18 a board. That's pretty good value over say 3 or 4 years. For
the lifespan of a board, yes, if it's treated well. John, now before we move on, we've got the board in position. It's cosmetically nice with the tyre around it. Is there any other points that we should note?
I suppose there's just a couple of little things. It's not going to bother most people, but you do get a lot of them that say the board's gone hard. And they take it down and they soak it in water. But, I mean, that's a past thing. It goes back generations to when they did have, all the time, wooden boards. So they soaked the wooden board to keep it nice and soft so the darts went in. With these, they're made of pig bristle, like an M, which is fastened onto a chipboard back. It's actually glued in and then put under 1,000-pound pressure, condensed to what it is, and a metal perimeter put on it, and wired. These are hand wired, every one's put on, and you've got the finished product. You don't soak a bristle board. You just leave it. If you turn it and turn it regular, it'll look brand new, but in actual fact you've worn it out. It's gone hard. And then your darts are going right through to the glue, and mostly they're bouncing out because they're hitting the glue, which is very hard, and shoving the darts back out of the board. So really, don't soak a bristle board. That's a good thing to remember.
Fine.
If you can obtain a wooden one, then soak it regular, else the board will expand all different shapes as it dries out, and the wires will all bend, so you get a bigger 18 than what it should be, or a smaller.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's handy.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly for a player of my standards, yeah. Any other things, John?
Not with the board. I think let's keep it simple. We'll go into the scoring, how to score on it, which doubles to start off on. We'll do that later when we've got round to the actual fixing of everything.
Our dartboard's in position, John. Now, how do we know where we stand?
Well, we don't know where we stand, and yet we do. This is an awkward question to ask. We drop a line from the face of the board down to the floor. That's if your wall is, say, slightly out. In some old houses, the ball may be 2 inches out of plumb. So we drop a vertical plumb line or a piece of wood flat to the board, to the floor, mark it, and we draw a line along there until we reach this mark here, which should be 7 feet 9 1/4. That's this throwing distance.
Seems a rather strange distance, John. I mean, how did someone arrive at a distance of 7 feet 9 1/4?
Well, fortunately, it is now established at 7 feet 9 1/4, as you rightly say. And if we move over here and look at an ordinary mat that you find in your local.
Yeah, now this is the one that I'm more used to seeing.
Yes, that's probably the one that, if the landlord can afford one, he's got one. That sort of thing. Or, again, I refer back to youth clubs, because we must not keep referring all the time to pubs. This game is played with the youngsters.
Indeed,
yeah. Where,
indeed.
You know, they're not all allowed to go into a pub until they're 18, or they're not supposed to. So we've got 12 and 13-year-old children playing. All the marks you see on here, from the 6 feet 6, the 7 feet 6, the 8 feet and the 9 feet, and all of a sudden we've got a yellow one in the middle with nothing on it. That's the one we use, the yellow one. All the mats were made to fit all different parts of England, or Great Britain, or the world, which all those various numbers are on there. The yellow one is the one that they've had to add in after. I'll tell you the reasons. The 6 foot 6 one is mainly Nottinghamshire, the county that I play for. There is another one closer than that at 6 feet, which they don't put on because the manufacturers all of a sudden finished it with marks all over them. The 6 foot 6, we'll talk about that one, was used in Nottingham mainly because the little tap room bars weren't big enough to throw any farther back. They couldn't get back to 9 feet. And we found out that in Cornwall and Devon, they was throwing from 9 feet, and in fact in London as well, used to throw from 9 feet, and many other places in Great Britain. The News of the World standardised its competition many years ago, brought in the 8 feet throw. So then we need another mark on the mat because the people throwing at 9 feet said, we're staying there, we're not moving. Rightly so, you can't tell someone he's got to move.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden came along the inter-counties, the Super Leagues and things like that, who said, well, 6 foot's a bit too close, 7 foot they play in the next county. Let's have a mark at 7 feet 6. So we all finished up playing from there for about 6 or 7 years. And then, of course, they went across to South Africa, that play from 9 feet and still do a lot of them. They go to America, who play from the 8 feet march because that's their accepted throw. And they went to Australia and New Zealand and found out that, again, the throw was 8 feet. So they come to a World Federation meeting, which takes many, many years, probably 50, 60 years to get together, and decide, let's have one mark so everybody can know where they go. And if you travel abroad, or you travel to Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, that you're going to stand at the same throw, and hopefully you're going to produce the same goods. You can't throw same from 6 feet 6 as 9 foot. And I can prove that, because the 6 feet lads, in my opinion, are almost unbeatable. They don't even take the coat off to play. They just go up and throw the things, and in they go. So we've arrived at 7'9", which we hope from now on and forever will stay the standard throw. We must point out here that the News of the World will still not move. They play from 8 feet.
That is, of course, a major competition that remains outside of what you're saying.
That's right. They are not involved in such things as world ranking points because they're not accepted, because they won't come forward to the mark. Again, it's their right to do so. The competition's been running since 1940. It's hard to expect somebody after 50 years to say, you've been doing it wrong for 50 years, and move to our mark. They won't do that. They say, if you want to play in our competition, you play from our mark. But thankfully, all the rest of the countries have moved. So,
and they are now at a standard 7'9½".
Most of them.
So basically then, John, the 7'9¼ now, measurement now, throwing distance, which is an accepted standard norm for all major competitions, with the exception, of course, of the one you've mentioned, the News of the World, that appears to me, as a layman, to be a sort of compromise in between the two. The accepted 7'6", which was the accepted distance in England, as you say, played for 5 or 6 years. The 8 foot, which was generally played throughout the world. The 7'9" appears to be a bit of a compromise.
Well, yes. I mean, it's the sensible thing to do. If we want to play the game all on equal par, we can't help that some people are 6'3" and some are 4'6", but we can at least get a standard throw. And the board, we've got the board at the right height. We've now got the throw that everybody can compete on equal terms. It is important. I mean, football pitches vary in size, but usually they try to stick to one standard size, and darts is more complicated because we're working within an 1/8 of an inch margin. So it is important that that line is kept exactly where it should be. And of course you get a lot of home teams when you play many games of darts. You'll find out the board's a little bit lower, the throw's nearer, and they've not lost at home for 7 years. That's because they've not got it right. Set the thing up right, and you can usually tell when you have been playing for quite a while, which you probably will do eventually, and many more people out there, that when they will be instantly able to tell that the throw is either long, short, high or low. That comes with years of practice.
Now, how long, approximately, John, not exactly, but how long have we now been playing on the accepted 7'9¼ mark?
Well, at this present moment in time, I should say about 6 years, that it's come in as accepted. As we say, there are still people who won't go to it. But they are moving, because if you don't play off it, you can't be a champion. You can be the 6'6" champion.
So therefore we've got our first basic fundamental point in being a champion, which was the opening to the video, the point of the programme. If you're playing from another distance, for enjoyment, no problem, John, but if you want to be the champion that we're trying to encourage, it's got to be 7'9½".
It must be. You can be the best player in the world from 6'6" and never win a title that matters. You'll never win the World Championship. You may never win the News of the World either, because that's farther back, obviously. But we have to forget, although the News of the World is very important and it's a big competition, what you're doing is you're stepping back 3 inches to 8 feet. That is a bit of an hardship, really, but it's better than stepping forward 2 feet. You know, that is a long way.
If they're on 7'9¼ now, John, you've been playing for a lot longer than 6 years, and you've been at the top a lot longer than 6 years. You must have been at the top throwing at 7'6", and all of a sudden someone came along to you and said, well, John, you've got to now move back another couple of inches.
Yes,
surely you've had to make some adjustments.
That's very interesting, and I can relate this to Leighton Rees, a player that is worldwide known. Leighton, in particular, was exceptionally good from 7'6", exceptionally good. And when they moved the mark back to 7'9", he had difficulty straight away. And he's had difficulty ever since, which he openly admits. And so did quite a few other players. The two inch or so that we come back, or nearly 3, I mean, it doesn't seem a lot. It's 3 inches about so big, but it does mean a lot to the weight of your darts, an extra 3 inch to go to the board. That's a bit technical, again, we can come on to later. But the 7 foot 9 1/4 did make a lot of difference to a lot of people. When the day it changed, when I heard it was going to change, I instantly came back and said, I will never ever throw from 7 foot 6 again, because I'm never going to win anything. So I thought, stayed at 7 foot 9, and I've stayed there forever.
And obviously paid dividends. So basically, this is the standard accepted darts match you would find in most pubs in the country, John?
Well, now, darts has progressed beyond the mat now. A lot of them have what we call an ocky, and it's fastened to the floor, which they take up. The ocky is a raised 2 inch, must be 2 inch. This is the leadle throw-in height, or what you throw behind.
Now, this is what we've got here, which is used in the major championship events of which you're more used to, John.
Yes, this is a little bit special. I mean, we've done this again to make it look right, what you would see on TV. The things that we use, as you say, in championship matches. You wouldn't expect to find that in a normal practice area, especially in the house. You wouldn't find that unless you have really got a long lengths and set out a special room. Here, this is the most important thing about this, is that it's 2 inches from there to there. It doesn't have to be 7 foot 9 1/4 long, 2 inch by 2 inch.
Oh, so just a strip of wood would
A strip of wood.
It hasn't got to be the platform that we have here.
That's right. I mean, the main important function that it does is that when you walk up to the board to throw a dart, you can actually just kick it with your foot. You know that you stood at the right mark without having to look at that mat, inch over, inch behind. There is one rule, it must be at least 2 feet wide.
2 feet wide?
That's right. That's to
Why
stop
is that then,
you
John?
stepping round it. You might decide to kick it and then step right round the edge. That's quite easily done. It's happened on TV, it's happened a few times, and recently people have had to be pulled up about it.
Have they?
Again, it doesn't seem important to the man practicing, but it is. If he wants to be a champion, get it right from the start.
But this is, when we talk about raised ockies, ockie seems to be a strange word to use anyway. I mean, it refers, if my pronunciation is correct, John, it refers to a completely different sport other than darts.
Well, there's many theories about this, some good stories, some very good stories. We can't prove any of them are true, but except one. We can prove one. There used to be a brewer down in Devon, Cornwall, called Ocky Brothers, and this is the truth. And to form the mark on their floor, or what we now call an ocky, they used to get a strip of wood off the barrel, and they used to refer to, where have you got that from? And he used to say, from ockies. Now, that is the truth. You might not believe that. It sounds a far-fetched story.
It sounds, it sounds a little bit.
Translated from another language, from, I think it's German or Danish, an ocky, in their translation, is a nick, a mark in the floor. That's probably nearer to what we're talking about.
Used as a guideline or a gauge or whatever.
That's right. That's really what it is. It's not important what we call it. We can call it a piece of wood or a piece of metal or whatever. What it's really there for is to give us a line where to throw from.
And also, not to cheat, I suppose.
Well, there's many people who cheat, but they've got to remember one thing, that they don't cheat anyone else but themselves. If they stand at the right throw and they throw the dart from there, then maybe they'll win. But if they crib a little bit and they still win, they know then that they're not really a winner.
Yes,
They've defeated the object before we even throw the darts.
Indeed. Now, there is one point, though, John, that I would like to make, going back onto the safety angle which you've stressed throughout the film thus far. I can't imagine, we're talking about the whole market of darts, pubs, clubs, homes, youth clubs, etc., etc. We've stressed, as I say, the problems with darts. It can be a dangerous game, and I can imagine a piece of wood screwed or nailed to the floor haphazardly as a mark, or an ocky as you call it. Again, for someone not expecting it to be there, it can be pretty dangerous as well.
Well, yes, but let's remember that when you're setting a dartboard up somewhere where somebody's going to practice regular, that will be the dart throw. So that will be left there. That'll be fixed permanently, because that is the area that you keep out of. That's the darts area. It's usually in a corner or on a wall that people do walk round anyway, because they don't want to cross the throw while the dart's being thrown. At home, you don't need that. I don't think mothers and fathers are going to feel very nice if you start hammering pieces of wood down into the carpet.
I shouldn't think so.
A little bit of tape put down. It's not critical. All it means is you'll have to look down before you throw. You'll have to look down where the toe is. If you cross the line, you're nearer. Then you can't achieve the object.
But sooner or later, throughout my own personal darts career, until I meet you in a World Championship final, I'm going to have to face one of these raised ockeys at one time or another.
I would hope so. I would hope so, because that is now, it's in the rules, it's what we've got. The mats are great. The idea of a mat is to save the floor wearing out when you walk to the board. The lines have only been put on it as a guideline. The raised piece of wood is the thing that all dart players should learn to play from.
Well, I would personally, looking at the mat, I would love to see a lad from Nottinghamshire, a London lad from the 9-foot mark, you said, a South African from the 8-foot, a BDO champion from the yellow mark, and a person who's forgotten that they've moved up, all come in the pub at the same time, and the pub will be able to satisfy everybody, then, wouldn't they?
It's uproar. You can imagine. They're all saying, look, I want to throw from 7 foot, and somebody's put the hockey at 9 foot 7, 7 foot 9 1/4.
But whatever distance
awkward.
it is, it's all darts.
It's all darts, but we must stick to that if we're going to be the champion.
To be the champion, which is
That's
the
right.
important fact.
That's right.
But, as we've said, it's all darts, and obviously now we've covered the board, the height of the board, 5'8", the throwing length, the hockey and the mat and one thing and another, but we haven't thrown anything yet, John. We haven't used anything.
What we need now is the tools. So
tools
far, we must put this out. If all we've spent up to now is £16 on a dartboard, we've had a piece of wood cut down the shed and planed the sides and screwed it to the floor. We've spent £16. All we need is the tools to throw at it. Very cheap game.
Fine, let's go over and look at something.
OK.
OK then, John, fine. I need a set of darts, and I see that you brought along quite a wide variety of darts here to illustrate. But quite frankly, John, some of them seem quite ancient.
Well, they are. If I brought every set of darts that you could actually buy today, we'd need a table 100 feet long. There's thousands of them. I mean, literally thousands. What I've tried to do is to bring, or to show you without complicating it, the differences. The difference from the big dart to the small dart, the long dart, to the very short dart. And I think we should set off by saying that a dart now has a fixed description. A dart can be no longer than 12 inches, and it should weigh no more than 50 grams. So that gives you a wide scope to choose from. You can imagine if you put all the many different variations into that, you could come up with almost 1 million different types of dart to throw. If we take a fine look at them, we go back to this particular dart here, which is the one that, very similar to what Tom Barrett used to win the News of the World twice, 2 years in succession. Go back to the mat again. He did throw from a little bit farther back. So the heavier dart does carry through the air a little bit better than a lighter dart. But this is what Tom had to use. I mean, that's quite a big-looking dart, made of brass with a fixed point. He didn't use that stem. That is a more modern stem, and he would probably use something like that, which is just a piece of cane that would fit into there, shaped down to whatever shape he wanted, and then the flight put in the end. Probably a flight similar to this one, but made out of paper. You know, that they would actually fit into the end. There's a groove cut in there, and this little band would come down here and then go back up and tighten up to fasten the flight in. Very, very, not technical, but if you think about it, it's a long, long way away from a lot of the darts we see today. We've got a dart here which is used by Tony Brown. Very, very slim dart, very, very slim, as you can see. The idea of that compared to this is quite easy to see. You can almost get 2 of that into the one barrel of the brass one. Yeah. So, without being too technical, that is made of brass, this is made of a tungsten alloy. The results are very, very major. One is that this doesn't weigh any more, really, than this thin one. So we've got a tungsten that is 2.5 times the density of brass, which gives us a smaller, thinner barrel. If you're good enough, you could get 9 of those in the 2020.
Could you?
You'd have to be very good to get 3 of those in, which Tommy Barrett must have been an exceptionally good player because he used to do it regularly. It makes us just realise how good the players of yesterday were compared to the players of today.
And, of course, from the longer distance.
From a longer distance as well, and probably without as many nicer surroundings and lights and things like that. But to the dart itself, this has just an ordinary black polyester stemming with a self-adhesive flight which fits into the top. The type of flight you purchase, whether it be a pear-shaped flight like that or what we call a standard flight like that depends on the individual. If the dart, when it goes through the air, tends to turn, it's usually because the flight is too small and you put a bigger one in. If it holds back in the air, you may shorten the stem and put a pear-shaped flight in. The stems come in many variations from long, medium and short. The darts likewise come in long, medium and short again. And they also come in different point lengths. The Americans now have a strong feeling that the longer the point, the farther away the dart stands out of the dartboard, so it misses the barrel of this dart when it goes in. Gives you more room. I personally don't quite believe that theory, because the distance from the face of the board to the glue, which we spoke about earlier, shouldn't be more than that point. The point shouldn't be longer, else you're going to go right in, hit the glue and bounce the dart back out. So I think the point should be just slightly smaller than from the face of the board to the actual glue which holds the bristle in. That way the dart will stay into the bristle. Good thing to remember about a dart like this is new, shiny. The point, it shouldn't be exactly a point. If it is, it'll hit the wire and stick in the wire. If it's chisel edged, we've got a typical example with my own dart. That is a chisel edge, it's almost round. But that'll not hit the wire flush on, stick in it, and then bounce on the floor. It will sometimes, because that's the price we pay for being a little bit too good.
Yes, indeed. A little bit too accurate.
That's right. What happens is with these that it tends to move over the wire as it goes into the board. So there's many things, but basically about darts, what I'm trying to illustrate to you in this is that you can buy from the old Tommy Barrett style dart to the modern day John Lowe dart, which looks like it should only be half the price of that. And then we've got the ones that Jim Pike, famous legend of darts, would throw these, the Schofield, which would have this in again and not that plastic stem as we see here. This is a collection that probably goes back 50, 60 years that I've collected from various people. Some that have sent to me in the post and said, would you like them, because they've been handed down, some of them, for a couple of generations. We can look at a particular set here, which those sections on there, believe it or not, were threatening bit shaped. And because the other darts followed through and hit them, it's knocked them off.
They're actually eroded, yeah.
That, again, is a thing to look for when you buy a set of darts. It's not really practical to buy one with ridges on, because your point again can hit that ridge, deflect the dart, and it falls on the floor without even sticking in the board. So I would say, to buy one, what do we do? Do we look for a thin one like the Tony Brown? Do we look for also a thin one, but it's got a thicker barrel? This one would be more sensible to an ordinary beginner with 24-gram dart, which is middle of the range. If we take from, let's say, the 16-gram to the 40-gram, the 24-gram is somewhere that you could start with and work up or down a gram or two either side. Don't expect to buy it and be brilliant with it straight away. You may have got the wrong one. You may want one slightly lighter, slightly heavier. You know, it's very important that you get the right tools. And I know tungsten darts are a lot of money. They can cost up to £25. But once you've got the right set, then you can stick to that set practically for 20, 30 years. Have new points in as they wear down. You have to change the flights and stems because they wear away, they break. But they're very inexpensive. A set of flights, 30p, and a set of stems, 30. So if you have to renew them every 2 weeks, it's 60p. A golf ball can cost you upwards of £1, and you can lose that with one hit. So we're in the right direction at around 24 gram for a beginner. And my own particular dart, you'll notice, is very much shorter in the barrel than that one. Now both these darts are made by Unicorn, a very old established firm who sponsor me. They're my sponsor in darts. And I was very fortunate to go along to them and say, can I take a little bit off, can I add a bit on? And so for 2 years, we lengthened the dart, we shortened it. I kept saying they're wrong again. Eventually I finished up with an house full of darts, which I didn't sell, I kept, and they're still there as a witness to the fact I keep moving up and down. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm very lucky. You can't do that. You can't walk into a shop and say to the shopkeeper, take me a little bit off, put me a little bit on. So you have to use a shop that should have a dartboard on the wall that you can practice on and hopefully get the right weight, or the weight what suits you. You'll notice mine is very, at least half an inch shorter than a standard 2 1/8 inch barrel dart. The reason for that is that I can explain this later when we get round to grip. It's all to do with grip. The reason I have it smaller is that when I hold it, there's only enough of it to hold. Again, I will get back to that. This is a dart being a torpedo-shaped dart that you throw up and it always comes down. Now that might sound silly because any weight that goes up always comes down. That's not the fact. The long, slim dart like this will go up, but it'll bend through the air sometimes and move way off target. This thrown in an arc, the one that I throw, thrown in up, will go in an arc. So anyone, whether it's a lady, whether it's a young child or anybody, can get good results from it. There may not be several 20s and bullseyes and double sixes and things like that straight away, but it gives them something to work from. It is a good dart for a beginner, and so is this. This is the middle of the range, and if you can throw a slim dart, it's all to your advantage because you'll get more in the treble. That is the basics, what we're all aiming at.
Now, you said, John, just to pick you up on one point, you said you were fortunate enough and obviously in a position to be able to go and virtually design your dart.
That's right.
Now,
yes.
You didn't suddenly decide on a design. Your theory about what you wanted in a dart obviously came after very much trial and error, I would have thought.
Darts is all trial and error, every little bit through it. If you can make it work the first time, you have eliminated the error. It's a trial that's been successful. So you carry on doing that right. But you can't do that. It's like practically every single sport that you play. It's trial and error to start with. Then once you've found a set pattern that you can work to, you try and improve on that pattern, get it better and better. You will reach a standard where you won't get any better. That's possible. So that's the level of the game you're always going to reach. You're never going to get, if it's destined that you've got all the practice time in the world but not the ability, then you'll probably not get to be world champion. But by having the right set of tools, as I call it, it can help to improve your game. And there's many sort of exciting things about a set of darts that you can look at. They're not just a piece of metal with a point, with a stem, and with a flight. I will illustrate what I mean to you with the different many stems we've got here on the table, the different many flights.
I was in fact going to say, John, that you mentioned the dart is used by, what, 50 years old?
That's right, that's a Jim Pike.
Now this is a smooth barrel, and yet this is the only example you've brought along with a smooth barrel. How important are is it the grooves or the rings, the design of the barrel? How important is it purely just for grip, or does it affect the balance, or
Yes, it does. You find with a brass dart, this is made of brass. Sometimes they're coated, they're copper with a brass coating, but that's really immaterial. It still looks like brass. You notice that the point is actually soldered in on this dart. It's a square piece of brass, but the point's been inserted and then soldered, put right down to form the lip, which would go off the top of a flight, like so, instead of just being a square and hit it and fall onto the floor. Brass, you will find that if your fingers are wet or slightly tacky, it forms an adhesion anyway. So they're always okay to grip. Brass darts you can easily grip. With tungsten, they tend to go shiny. The alloy itself tends to shine off as you hold it. So have the grooves in if you want to grip. I have them because that grips on my thumb quite well. You just feel yourself and you'll realise what I mean.
Yes.
It's got a very good grip. Now the thing that a lot of players say to me is, well, those grooves are very deep. And they complain because when they come through into the board, they hit the flight and break the flight. But I say to them, well, that's the price you have to pay. That's the little bit, a few pence for a new set of flights. If you want to eliminate the groove and have a smooth dart, you may finish up having to put chalk on your fingers to make it more adhesive. Or as I do, everybody's probably seen me, I always lick my fingers before I play. Sounds like a dirty habit, I know, but I do it anyway.
And there is a reason, of course, for doing it. It's not habit.
No, it's not an habit at all, and it's something what, if you look very closely at darts, and I have, obviously over the recent years on TV, you'll see many more players copying that, just wetting the fingers, because chalk's messy. And there is a rule now in darts that if you chalk the barrel and the chalk goes into the grooves, the dart hits the board, the chalk all comes off all over the board, and you are then breaking the rules of darts. You're obscuring the shot for the next player to throw. So chalk is now becoming less and less frequent. Well, we've done a little bit on the dart side. As I've said, there's many combinations you can choose. You, as I would suggest, someone walking into a shop, should look at the darts very carefully. Don't just go for Eric Bristow's darts because he's won the world title. Don't buy Keith Della's because he's won it, and don't buy a John Lowe dart if you can't hold it. Get a dart what's middle of the range, something like that. Something what you can reduce the stem, reduce the point, put a bigger stem in, bigger shaft, a bigger flight, smaller flight, many combinations. Don't just buy the darts, buy the flights to go with it and work on it.
Yeah. Now, John, you've mentioned the approximate cost of the important part, because it seems to me that the modern-day dart comes in, in 4 separate parts. All can be replaced.
That's right.
But the tungsten centre, the tungsten shaft, I believe as you call it, that is the important part of the dart. I know the other 3 aspects go up to make the dart, but the important choice would be on either the length or the density or the...
The importance placed on tungsten may be sometimes overrated. I say this because if people can win events with brass darts and they throw well and they go through the air well, what is the need to pay 10 times that amount for a set of tungsten? I'm not suggesting that somebody's parents goes out and buys a young child of 6-year-old a set of £20 tungsten darts. They can quite easily practice with a £2.50 set of brass darts. If he then wants to progress to tungsten, then the change is made. It does obviously help if you can buy the right set from the beginning, because like we've said all along, get a good board, the right height, the right throw, set off right. But £20 is a lot of money to expect parents to pay for youngsters that they may want to not play after 6 months. So there's just as much enjoyment getting a set of brass darts. They work equally as well, but as you can see by the size, they hide the treble, and that's the most important part of the game, getting the darts into the treble, as many as we can.
Obviously, from our future champion point of view, you know, it would be recommended. But what is the kind of... We've talked about the grooves now, John, but they seem, and to a total layman, they seem to vary such a lot in weight. Is that according to size, or the size of the actual dart? Would that determine the weight? Would this be in a longer barrel? Would that automatically weigh less or more than your own darts which are shorter?
Yes, the weight of a dart varies again. It gets very technical, and it's not something a beginner really wants to know. Provided he's got a set of darts that says on the box, like Unicorn, for instance, put on here 24.7 gram. That is guaranteed to minus or plus 1% of a gram in all the 3 barrels. That is a very good guarantee. But, I mean, we take that as face value, and we take it out of the shop and take it out and we throw it, and we say, well, I've got a 24-gram dart. A gram, by the way, is a Kleenex tissue. So anyone who thinks a gram is a very heavy weight, it's a Kleenex tissue. So if we sharpen it 30 or 40 times, we may have lost that gram in one dart, especially if we don't sharpen the other 2. So weights, again, can be made, as it says on here, a T80. So that's 80% nickel to 20% alloy, or 20% nickel and 80% tungsten, the mixture. We can buy the exact same dart with more tungsten in, more nickel mixed in as well, and we get a different weight dart in exactly the same shape. So weights can come in different sizes, but in also different kinds of material that's used to make the dart up. One thing I would like to show to you, and it's a little prized possession, what's been sent to me from someone very, very old that's passed this down, and that is to illustrate the modern-day dart of today, like we've got here, or my own dart, and then darts of 50, 60 and 70 years ago. People say, as the game changed, look at your dart. It's just a dart, and it's got a fancy stem where it comes out of the side. It doesn't go out the top anymore. That's not because my eyes are bad, it's because the manufacturers have come up with what I think is a brilliant idea, where the flight goes through the side. It's spring-loaded. It moves out of the way of the next dart coming into the board, and it still goes back to its own shape. Now we look at this. This is something that I'm particularly pleased of, and I know there's not many of these left around anywhere in the world. This is made by the same people, Unicorn, and this was made over 50 years ago. And this set of darts it's called a Silver Comet. And if we look at it, and the difference between mine and that, it's almost the same.
And that is 50 years old?
It's
plus.
over 50 years old. Now we say, well, how come you've got this new Revolution stem? So we look at this, and someone cleverly designed years ago, you take the top off, and the actual flight comes out just same as a slick stick. They're more ingenious because you only have to buy half a flight, so you saved half the money anyway. It's great. And really, if you look at that, and that is going back 50, 60, 70 years, there's not a lot of difference between those two darts.
Indeed not.
And the performance thrown at the board wouldn't be all that much different either, except that mine is a thinner and it's a shorter barrel. And the most noticeable thing is it's about 3 grams heavier because it's made of an heavier metal. But it just shows that darts maybe has gone full circle. It's probably come right back round to where we started with a precise piece of engineering which is back to the modern day dart.
John, so that's a really, truly amazing example of a dart that has, as you said, gone in a full circle, but we're talking about the average player, like myself, the average dart, which you've already described as being around about 24 grams, the medium of the range of a dart, which is, if you're receiving a dart as a present, this would be a good range and an average medium range to start off with. Then you'll come into your trial and error, which you've placed so much importance on. But you did mention a point earlier which I'd like to pick you up on, and that was that you stated that a range of between 15 and I believe 50 grams is acceptable as a dart.
That's right. Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, is there anybody that throws a weight of dart as heavy as 50 grams with any kind of accuracy at all?
I wouldn't say there's anybody throws a dart 50 gram. Now, having said that, there's probably going to be 900 people contact me straight away saying that they do. But I don't know anybody who throws one at 50 gram that throws it successfully, very successfully. I know people that throw 12 gram darts, which when you open a window somewhere, the draft through the window actually takes the dart, wobbles across, which it does with my own, which incidentally are 21 gram. Mine's slightly lighter than the 24, but some people prefer them 23 and 25, so we do them in 3 ways. That's to allow for we think 25 is possibly the highest weight that this will go to at this present time. But with the other end of the scale, the very heavy end of the scale, we can relate quite successfully through a present international player who plays for Wales, a lad called Byron Wozencraft, who throws a 42 gram dart. Now, all I can do is say to you that we have a little clip of a film that we would like to show just to the people, just to illustrate how successfully he can throw a 42 gram dart. It's the matches against Wales versus England, 1983, and Byron is playing at the present, then, world champion Keith Deller.
An outshot for Wozencraft. $100. England requires 60. Looking at 20, double top. Double top. Double 10. 50. Cheers from the crowd. 58. Wozencraft 18 double top to go ahead. Double top. Double 10. It brings the roof down. Wozencraft goes in front, 2-1.
Well, as you said, John, we've seen an example there of a man, an international, Byron Wozencraft, actually throwing darts with a very, very great deal of accuracy with a 40-plus gram dart. But taking that clip of film as well, I mean, we're talking about darts. Darts is the theme of this particular moment. And I noticed there that Keith Deller's darts seem to be falling apart. They're wobbling all over the place. I mean, there again, that's another aspect, John. What's that about?
Well, it's another new thing that's come into darts, and it's called a spring-loaded dart. It's not really new, although it is. I mean, people have not obtained it as yet. But as you noticed, when Keith's dart hit the board, it looks as if the flight was loose. It wobbled around. But in actual fact, what it is, the part where the point goes into the barrel, the actual hole is bigger than the point, so the point wobbles from side to side. It's shaped like a pin, and it's got a little head inside here, and on top of the head is a spring that goes tight up to the stem. This makes it so the point can retract. So the theory is that when it hits a wire, it ricochets on the wire and then goes over and in. You have to see this through a very slow film to be able to understand how it actually works. But about 10 years ago, or around that time, I did stay in someone's house in Sweden called Kent Seagram, who actually designed that dart. He's the man that made it many, many years ago. And I threw a few darts with it, and quite honestly, I don't know whether people can remember when Keith played me in the World Championship, 1983, the Embassy World Championship, that he didn't lose any darts at all, and yet I lost something like 18. So everyone said, well, you should get some of those darts. But then we saw in the semi-final and the final, Keith lost 20 or 30 as well. So it's got things in its favour and things against. Personally, the very fact that it wobbles when it hits the board puts me off. If I was throwing, I'd think, is it the point or is the dart loose? And so I wouldn't throw again at it thinking I would knock the dart out. So I'd tend not to throw at it and throw somewhere else. It's a fine dart. Keith's done extremely well with it, so all we can say, it's a new development in the game. Maybe we'll progress past that, I don't know. The rules, incidentally, of darts had to be changed to allow that dart in, because the rules did say that a dart must have a fixed point to the barrel. That rule has now been changed because, obviously, there's other firms in America that make a bottle-head dart, which is a very similar thing where the point goes in and out without a spring. So that's another aspect of darts, what we see as the game progresses. Everyone's trying to eliminate the wire on the dartboard, so there's nothing to it. That's the basic thing at the end of the day. The bigger the target, the less obstructions, the more you score.
But surely, John, a dart coming out is probably the biggest excuse for a dart player to lose a match. Obviously not to win a match, but to lose a match. Isn't that part and parcel of the game of darts, as you would expect?
Yes, I would, but if the darts are going to develop into things where we've got spring-loaded points, and we're going to have these flights like I've got here that go in the side, and many, many other things that's going to help the game, little caps that can go on the top of the stem to stop the dart going into the top of it, then the manufacturers owe it to themselves to try and reduce the size of the wires on a dartboard. It's not for me to even say that they can do that, because I know there's been many, many experiments to try and reduce the thickness of the wire, to try and get it thinner so that there's less to it. But at the same time, it moves, and if the dart sticks in a 1 and bends to the left, and in theory it moves the wire over, you've actually hit a 20. But the wire's telling you it's in a 1. So they have to have it rigid, obviously, to separate the 1 from a 20, or a 6 from a 10. It's as simple as that, really.
Well, we've covered, really, the history of darts on one table, haven't we, really?
Well, we'd like to think we have.
As far as
We'd like to
darts
think we
manufacture.
have. That's right. There's many, many points that, finer points that we can't really go into fully, for the simple reason that, as I said before, we'd need a table 300 yard long to get them all on, to go through it. But I think we've covered the basic from a fella buying his set of darts, or a lady, ladies play darts, in a local shop, taking them home and playing on the board. We've covered that. We're almost to the actual part where you throw the dart.
So our champion, our projected champion, is just a little bit further along the road to his championship, shall we say, by choosing the right dart. It is obviously the tool of the trade, and it's a very, very important one.
It's one that he may not get right for 10 years. I'm still trying. I've been playing 17 years. Thousands of titles and trophies and competitions lost and won behind me. But to quote Jack Charlton when he retired from England, he said he played over 80 times for England, yet he was still learning how to play the game when he finished. I think that's what it's all about. You try and improve all the time. Keep trying to improve, get better. Maybe it'll work. So, as I said before, sometimes you'll make the wrong decision. You find out the dart that you threw well with last night, all of a sudden you can't do it. That's you, that's not the dart.
That's right.
If you get a set you like, stick to it and improve on your own throw. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. We've got one more item on our table, John, that I'd like to highlight. And of course, this is a very, very decorative. It looks a little bit like a lady's purse, dare I say, John. Can we just see what the champion dart player actually carries around with him in his dart case?
Well, I don't think he carries one of these, to be quite honest. I'm fortunate by going to America and a lot of other places where people want to give you little mementos to bring home. So I personally am very lucky that I pick a very nice dart case up, something that is made of leather. It was made by an American, and as you can see, it's got almost everything in. The darts go into the top, the flights go into the side, there's a little sharpening stone. Always carry a sharpening stone, every dart player. It's no good having a blunt point because it's bounced off a wire, hit the floor, squared the end of the dart off, and you're running around trying to find a stone to sharpen it. These cost about 5p. You buy your own. You make sure you've got one. You've always got one. A dart player that hasn't got one, then he doesn't deserve to be winning. In here, you've got your spare stems. It all falls neatly into a pocket, or wherever. The thing is, never leave them around, because people are likely to walk away with it because they look so good.
Yeah.
Sometimes a 20p wallet is the best thing to have a £20 set of darts in, because it's the wallet they take, unfortunately, and not the darts.
Always when playing competitions, John, spare set of flights, spare set of Ks, just in case of emergencies?
Well, always. They do break. They're not made to last forever, because they're made to move out of the way, as I've shown. And flights with deep grooves on darts, as I've said before, can rub the end, and we're talking a minimum, if it costs 50p a week, that's again back to the cost of what we've got so far. We've got a dartboard at £16, we've got a set of darts, anything around £10 minimum. We've got a couple of spare sets of flights, so we're looking at £35 and we're on our way. And we can play for years with that.
As you say, indeed. Well, I am on my way. I've now been told how to set up a dartboard. I know what distance I've got to throw from. I've got a better insight into what kind of darts I should go for. Does that now make me a potential champion, or have I now got to learn to throw them?
I think now you're on your way. Now you need, obviously, to know the stance, the grip, where we stand behind that hockey that we've talked about earlier, how to line up to the dartboard. I'm taking in many, many little things, and the only way we can really do that is we'll go across to the board and illustrate a few what I think the grip and stance should be.
Let's do exactly that.
Well, Phil, we've got the dartboard in the right place, we've got the throw, we know they're all correct. We've got a set of darts. I know this particular set suits me because over many years I've found out that it suits me. When I find one better, I'll change it. But for now, we've now got to show how do we hold it to throw. There's a lot of people vary on this completely, but we're talking about 85% of people who play the game. They're the ones. The other 15 who may be very good, some of them not, may have a different style. That's their own right. But for the 85% who use a simple style, this is usually how they do it. They have the thumb under the centre of gravity of the dart, the index finger slightly behind, and the second finger just touching the point itself, or not the end of the point, but near to the barrel. That gives them a grip, a firm grip, and it's also very comfortable to use. That grip would be held like so. Now, a lot of people say with a longer dart, this is not a standard dart, so with a longer dart which is back here, how do they hold it? Well, a lot of us have seen Eric Bristow that sort of wraps his hand all round the dart, something like that. The only way people can copy him is to stick the little finger out. They don't know the rest of his grip, which is very, very, very awkward to copy. Eric is a one-off who has been very successful with his own particular style. Other people say that, how do you get a dart to go over the top of the dart just thrown? They will move the fingers forward. They say, how do you get a dart underneath the one that's already thrown? They move the fingers backwards, which pushes the dart underneath. I like to hold them exactly the same all the time. Hence the grooves that I've got in the dart, so I know the thumb can only fit in one place, the front finger and the index finger go exactly in the same place every time. Then I've nothing to blame if the thing's wrong. So that's a basic grip, what usually suits everyone. A lot of people, as I say, use a different grip, but that's entirely up to them. We are talking about the beginner and also many, many people who play the game at a top level. I prefer just to stand solid so that after 12 hours, 12 days, 22 years, I can still stand and my legs are still okay. You know, they'll still feel comfortable. I think that's important. If you're right-handed, line it up with the right foot. If you're left, it's vice versa, obviously, and it's left. But it puts your whole body in line with the double 20 right down to the double 3. A lot of people, if you notice, they'll come right over here and stand. But that's awkward if there's a wall where you're playing. Some of your games you'll play away and wherever you're playing, and they may have a dartboard right in a corner. They're in an unfortunate position then that they can't throw properly. The other way around, if you're left-handed, it happens on the other wall. So I suggest to anybody starting the game or anybody who's got to a state where they'd like to get better, instead of changing the darts, changing the grip, why not have a look where they stood? Why not say, well, let's move in line into the board. If you used to fasten a piece of string to the bullseye, pull it right down to the corner of that mark there, you'll find out that's the nearest point you can ever throw a dart into a dartboard. If you move the string slightly right or left, it will get nearer. So you are actually, the farther you come over here, you're throwing from 8 feet.
You're changing the distance each time.
Why not throw from the nearest possible point? The right-hand side of the board is exactly the same as the left. It makes sense.
John, we've talked about the grip, we've talked about the stance. The one thing we haven't really sort of gone into is what I would consider to be one of the most important factors, and that is the actual arm movement itself.
That is obviously very important, because that's the thing, as you say, what's going to get the darts the distance of the 7 feet 9. I keep saying 9 because the quarter's hard to add on. So we'll just trim it to the 7-9 for now. I'm taking up the same stance. My body's won't move or shouldn't move. I've got the arm in the position, the grip. That's very important at the elbow. This is to be a basic player. You can adapt whatever you want after this. It's very important that you keep the elbow in one position. There's the grip. Eyesight level. You bring it back. And if you look, the elbow never moves. It stays in the same place. It slightly gets higher as the arm extends out. But when you get to that point there where you're losing it, you should release the dart and follow through. It's important to follow through, else the dart will not go 7 foot 9 1/4. It'll only go 6 feet. Or in terms, it'll drop an inch on the dartboard. That's the basic of it. So what we do, same again, it's the idea to practice this is to get something, a piece of wood, something high, rest the elbow on, and just practice that. And throw the dart, and you'll find out you don't need the rest of the body at all. You can do without it. You can actually throw darts from there. The wrist stays, I stay level as I bring it back. I don't cock it over. I bring it level and release the dart to the target. Seems as if it goes right up in the air.
But from where I'm standing, John, I mean, when you're actually releasing the dart, you're almost at a perfect right angle.
Well, that's not actually the point of release. The point of release, you'll see, is that would be the right angle. It goes extended until you're reaching. And then when you're actually reaching, you let it go, but the arm goes through. The follow-through is important. Very, very important. You can only get this from, again, hours and hours of practice, and you're adapting your own style. One good tip, what I would say, is that don't throw with the elbow out there. The action is all strange. Keep the elbow in line, the arm itself vertical, so that when it's held there, you can pull it back and throw. It's easy. It's so easy that it's the simplest thing you'd ever do. There's so many people throw like this, and they're very good. So that defines what I'm actually trying to say, or defies it. But that is not the best style. If they want to be what I call consistent, straight down the middle of that 20, all the time, 20, 20, 20, then improve, get a 60, 60. Make sure that you're actually hitting somewhere near what you're throwing at. And that's the way to do it. Keep in line all the time. And I'm sure you'll find out that the game will get easy, very easy, but stick to basics all the time.
But obviously, no matter what stage of the game you're at, either starting, scoring or finishing, your basic stance, grip and throwing action never varies.
Yes, they vary, and that's when you lose. Obviously, mine, I tried to perfect my own stance, style and grip, which I can pass on to other people like we are doing now, simply because I believe that's the one that'll help them most. It's the only one you can teach with any accuracy. You can't teach an orthodox style, we've said it before. But it does go wrong, of course it does. You tend to, sometimes you throw the dart and you let it go here, and it goes straight up in the air. Another time you don't follow through and you snatch here. That's forced to happen. If you play 1,000 hours a year, which I usually put into darts, that somewhere or another, if I can expect 10% of that to go wrong, I'm only looking at 1,000, I'm only looking at 100 hours that's gone wrong on the whole year. Unfortunately, that might be in a final of a championship. You know what you've done wrong when you get off the stage. But providing you can go back to that simple, basic, elbow in, pull back, straight release, good stance, firm and steady, then you can correct it. And your confidence doesn't go down too much. It stays high. So then you know, forget the loss, let's get back onto a winning trail, and you get back in there. I think that's the whole secret of it. Confidence in your own style, not necessarily your own ability.
Or confidence in somebody else's style and trying to copy them. Develop your own style, important, John?
You've got to copy the basic style of what we're trying to show now. If you find out that you've got something what can alter that to your advantage slightly, then alter it by all means. If you find out that by turning the dart upward a little bit and throwing the dart uphill. Don't forget I'm 6'1". The fella at 5'4" is going to be throwing from farther down. So instead of moving his arm down here or high above his head, why not just move the dart and throw it uphill? But we're still back to basics of lining up, keeping the feet firm, keeping the body rock still. And that way, a lot of people, what you've not mentioned, they're forced to pull this out. They say, well, how come you never blink? But that, I can assure you, has nothing to do with playing darts. It's hereditary. I'm sure it is. I don't use super glue to hold the lids open or anything. I just never blink. I just concentrate on it. But
it does
I don't blink anyway.
But it does add to this sort of appearance of total, absolute concentration when you're playing, John.
It does. People say also, why don't you ever smile when you're on TV? But in all honesty, the television never show when you're receiving the cheque, not very often. So that's when you smile. You've not got anything to smile about if you lose, have you? Especially if it's a week-long championship where you lose the first round. You sat down for the rest of the week watching everybody else play. I don't think that's worth laughing at, personally. I think get up there, it's a serious business. Try and concentrate on everything that you've contributed towards being in a competition or practicing. Try and put it all together, and then I think the end result will come out that you're satisfied. You may get to the semi-final. But the other player's got to play very, very well to beat you. I mean, competition's all about winning and losing anyway. So if he plays well, OK. Your turn next. Get back to the drawing board, do it all again, trim up on it, and beat him next time. I think that's the whole secret.
Now, we haven't started just yet our imaginary game of darts, where I come from, John, and we're going back to the mat and the varying dartboard, because everybody starts a game, I would imagine, different. Some start on the 1001 or 501 or double start. Where I come from, they start on double. Now, I'm going to have to start on doubles when I'm playing in my local pub. Do I automatically go for the double 20 because it's the highest scoring double?
Well, we can touch on this before I actually throw a dart at the board. 95% of dart leagues in the whole of Great Britain start on a double and finish on a double. Because although it's an individual game, it's a team game. Whereas you've got 7, 9 or 5 players in a team that play just one leg, 301, 101. So to make it so that they've got a reasonable chance, they put an handicap on it of a double start. We don't use it on TV simply because if one fella didn't get off, it wouldn't be worth showing. Also, television never know how long a game's going to run, and they need to know approximately how long a match is going to take. Now, I suggest that every dart player who's starting to play darts uses a double start, double finish. That's because if he gets very good at treble 20, he's only going to get one shot at his double at the end. So he's not getting any practice whatsoever at doubles. So what he needs to do is say, double start, double finish, every time. Some parts of the country, you still spin a little disc on a wall, and if it stops on 13, that's the one you get off on. You have to. No other double will do. They still use that in many, many places.
Really?
They do, yes. But let's assume we're a right-handed dart player like I am. If you throw it double top, and you're a learner, and you get it first dart, then great, you've done well. But if you have half an hour throwing it double top, I don't think you'll get it many times 1 out of 3. Or even 1 out of 6 for a beginner.
Probably more with me.
So the ideal thing is if you're a right-hander, why not use the right-hand side of the board? We've got double 13 is an ideal double. If it goes high, it's a chance it'll go in double 4. You've not thrown at it, but then again, why shouldn't you accept it? If it falls low, it'll go in double 6, double 10. Left-hander, double 14. When you get good, then maybe you can move on to double top if you like. Personally, I'd always stick with a side double to start. The only reason that people use double top is it's the biggest number, it's 40. But if you don't get off with 3 darts, you've got to share 3 into 40 plus the next 3 you're throwing. It's far easier to get off first or second shot.
Again, playing the percentages.
Play the percentages, that's right. Let's just have a shot at the right-hand side of the board, putting everything into what we've talked about, and we're going to throw at double 13. If it goes in double 4, then great, I'll accept it. That's 8 and it's away. There we go, Phil.
Fine.
We've got one. But if that had been double top, thrown at double top, I may have been there 6 darts. I got 1 out of 3, it was the last one.
And your opponent may be away, well in front of you, by getting a double 4.
That's right. But we're not using the theory that you go for the biggest number. We're using the theory that by throwing at this side of the board, it can go into any of them numbers. This doesn't apply to the treble, simply because when you're scoring, you throw at 20, because 20 is still a good score with a single dart. So if you throw at treble 20 and it drops into 20, then you accept that 20. 60 is not a bad shot with 3 darts. If you're lucky and it goes in, as you get better, it'll not be luck, it'll be because of the practice you've put into it. So there's really, I'd say, start on this side if you're right, that side if you're left-handed, but don't forget to practice on these, because you need them when it comes to the finish. You may not work everything into 32 or double 20. It may work into a double 3. And while I think about that, we've got a good illustration of a double 3, which we've got on a clip now, which I'd like to show you, and also one where nerves comes into it, which we've not touched on. This was during the 1977 British match play against Tony Brown in the final. And the whole competition was for a meagre then sum of £1,000, which now, when you see the £10,000 prizes around, makes it a little bit insignificant. But the pressure on getting double 3 was great.
John Lowe now needs 138 to finish, and it's getting down towards the climax. 60 scored. He can go 318s or 314s now. We'll leave him a double. 318s, he wants 212s. 212s. And he has just missed. And what a try from John Lowe. What a finish that would have been. 123. Can Brown go out with a firework display? That's a single 19. He wants treble 18. Didn't get it. And he only scored 33, 39 there. And so John Lowe looking for 2 3s now for the title. Bottom of the board, but top of the tournament. John Lowe wins it. The British match play title is his. 17 darts in that last leg. An absolutely riveting, absorbing game of darts. John Lowe scoring 3 180s there. A really worthy champion. John Lowe, the England captain, confirming his world ranking #1 in what has been a really scintillating series.
Yes, as you say, John, a tremendous shot under a lot of pressure, but I'm sure that a lot of players wouldn't choose to go on a double 3, especially with 3 darts in your hand.
Well, the game, I didn't choose double 3 either. It just happened that I got to it. But at least I'm prepared to have a go at it. You know, I think, well, there it is. It's on the board. It's at the bottom. It's the hardest one to hit. In most people's book, double 3 is the hardest one. If you're frightened of it and you miss it and throw inside, you've got 2 darts, 1 to get 1 and 1 to get double 1. If you go outside, you've got the next 2 at 3. If one goes into the big 3, then you might as well throw the 3rd one away. You can't do anything with it, particularly in the position that we saw there that Tony Brown was in. He was on a finish. So it's determination, confidence that you can get it. The only way you're going to have that confidence is to practice on them. Use these doubles regular. You may never use them in a match. You may never use treble 5 in a match. Treble 7 very rarely comes into a game. You don't need them. But they're not put there for nothing. You will eventually arrive on them when you don't want to play on them, and if you can hit them, or have got confidence you can hit them, practice on them, and you're going to make it right. I suggest a good way to practice for a beginner or somebody who thinks that he's a really tip-top champion and only needs treble 20 anymore, double 16 and double top, and that's his whole
Aspect of his game,
his complete aspect of what he thinks is darts. He's wrong. Why not use the lot? Start on double 1, double 7 and bullseye, double 6, double 11, bullseye. Keep using them, the opposite doubles and bull. Try and space them apart. Use the total width of the board. I'm sure then you get into the game.
I've been dying to ask you this question about the bullseye, because it is seemingly so important, but on a major championship game with treble 20, when I'm playing, I'm going for the treble 20 all the time. How important is the bullseye in the context of a game?
Well, over the last few years, and I say few years because a while back bull was never used. When I first went to America in '76, they call it a cork, and they couldn't understand on TV why I was throwing at treble 20. Why didn't he throw at the middle of the board? Surely that's the hardest bit. Why didn't he throw at the cork, as they call it? So we thought, well, no, they're silly. I mean, why this little bit here is not usually in the game. Then all of a sudden we had people coming along and saying 82. There's an outshot. Why not go for bullseye and double 16? Never been heard of. Always treble 14 and double top. Some people say, why go for a bull as a finish? It's 50. They say, why don't you go 10 or double top, 18, double 16, and you've got 3 darts in the end. But a lot of people say, no, the bullseye's 50. Why not throw 1 dart at it? You've got, if you miss, you've got 1 to leave a double and 1 to throw at a double. So you've had 2 darts. A lot of people say, well, no, big 10's a lot better. Throw big 10, leave double top. You've still only had 2 darts at the double. If it falls in 15, and then you've got to sort of rip 35 then, so you've got to go for a big 3 and hope you get that to leave 1 dart at a double. So the bull is becoming more and more part of the game. In fact, on a lot of dartboards, you'll find out after a year it's worn out. The bull's worn out now before the treble 20. We see a good instance now where a lot of TV companies and competition organisers are wanting to see different games. Round the board on doubles, Shanghai, a game what is very simple to play. It's the double, the triple and the single. If you get it, you've got Shanghai. Then they play halve it, where you set off with a score. If you don't get the proper numbers, you halve the score. And then there's one called cricket, which most people know how to play. You have 11 wickets, which are 11 bulls. And you have to score all 11 while get them off or get them out before the other fella's got as many as he can on scoring. One typical example of the bullseye was in such a game in the Tetley Darts Athlon on Leeds. And this is the most interesting thing about bullseye we'll ever see, the best bullseye throwing, in my opinion, when the very first 3 bullseyes was ever seen on television. We can show you a little piece from the film, and don't just watch the first 3, watch what happens after it.
Right, we'll do that.
They've only got 6 left each, and Bristow must find the big effort. There's 2 balls. Can we have 3? Yes, we can! 2 25s or a ball for this first game. And there it is. And can he do it again? He can! Wow, what can you say? That is unbelievable!
Phenomenal. What more can you say? 6 bullseyes. I'm talking about trying to get 1. You and Eric have just got 6 consecutive bullseyes there. That must be the ultimate shot in darts, surely.
That, when somebody watches at home, is not luck. That's what you've practiced for 17 years, or 20 years, or even more. That's what the ultimate thing is. That's when it gives you most satisfaction of seeing it happen. You know, and I think that is... I mean, it's great. We can talk about that forever, getting 3 bullseyes. The man at home should be very pleased when he gets his 1. If he manages 2, then great. And I'm sure that, you know, he puts enjoyment back into the game.
I think we've covered most aspects of darts now, John, but there is one aspect, one very, very important aspect, which is all part and parcel of the game, which we haven't covered. And this revolves around, A, this piece of equipment, but B, a piece of equipment that I'm much more used to seeing by the side of my dartboard, and that's a chalkboard.
That's right. The basics of scoring are simple. You just subtract the number, but a lot of people can't do it. So what we've found is, over a few years, and the best way to learn a game is to get the chalk, mark on, take the totals away, and then you learn the shots yourself by seeing it on the chalkboard. But what's happened is that we've found not only is chalk a little bit messy and goes all over the carpet or wherever, but now we've got to a stage where a lot of players won't play because they can't subtract. So does that handicap them? Totally. With one of these, which is a new electronic device, of which looks very simple to use, it's very visual, you can see it from the back of a room. All you do to start a game is just press new game, and there we've got a game. It takes the numbers away, like so, they're at the bottom. There goes the totaling, and it's subtracted it for us. The thing is, we have to believe that it's right, because if you can't subtract to start with, you've got to think that must be right anyway. It's a great improvement in the game, and one that I think should be with us for many, many years.
Indeed, simplicity itself, moving into the video age, which we're both certain that that's in the future, of course, but this particular video display here, I notice you've still retained the whole game in view all the time. That's
right, and that will go down all the way like that. As you take the scores off, that will keep taking either side for either player and come right down to the finishing double. It will actually tell you what you want.
Yeah, but in a competitive match, that is very, very important that the scores are all on display at a given time, either by chalk or by one of these new electronic devices, as you call them.
Of course, but don't forget, choose what that says you want at the end. It's still up to those 3 darts, all that practice, that you get it. Else that will go on and on and on forever, and you will never get a double on it. It's as simple as that, really.
Fine, John. Now, the ultimate question, supposing I'm losing. Is there any way that I can use this magic word that's creeping in there into a lot of sports? It's not sportsmanship, it's gamesmanship. How can I, in many ways, try to defeat my opponent by a little bit of jiggery-pokery?
Yes, you can bang your darts together, you can click a cigarette lighter, stamp your feet, shout at the crowd so they boo. You can do anything to put someone off.
Slow a player down, fasten the player up, even.
No, that's not gamesmanship at all.
That's not considered gamesmanship.
No, I would say that playing your own game to your own speed, within reason, if you're going to take 5 minutes to throw, then yes, I think you're breaking all rules that come into being a sportsman. Not rules that are laid down, but rules that come into your own circle of darts people that say, no, that is against what we're trying to do. But you can play your own game. If someone throws fast, that's not your fault, is it? In 1983, we played the British Gold Cup final, which involved myself and Richie Gardner, a Surrey and England player in the final. We've got a little bit of a clipping of that film just to show you the difference between someone throwing fast and then someone playing his own style that comes right back into the game. That is not gamesmanship. Let's just take a look at it.
Now, some guys, if you're interested in tactics, would slow the game down. Alan Evans would try to slow this lad down, I reckon. But Lowe just the usual grind. He wants to throw. He's gone like double top. What a shot out! Brilliant! Well, his mate Mick takes him round in a Rolls Royce. They're going to go around in the state coach and keeps this up. And homing in on that like a Nike missile.
140.
Well, he's been finishing brilliant. Yes, it's on now, the 156 shot.
100. Johnny require 116.
Possible with the 3 darts. Got the 60. Brilliant. Match point with 2 darts. Double top for the British Gold Cup.
Game! Shot!
A new star came like at Bethlehem. Richie Gardner for John Lowe of Derbyshire.
Well, Phil, I'm sure you could see there that I managed to get back into that game after being a set down, with Richie throwing them like, actually letting them go faster than before his third one was hit the board, he'd fixed them out more or less. You know, I slowed it down a little bit, played my style, got back into the game and took the arrows. Took the winning double, took the cup and took the money.
Yeah, but do you think, in fact, you playing your own normal game, do you think it, in fact, affected Richie in the end?
Of course, yes, because he throws extremely fast, and I'm sure he slowed down his own game. If he could have carried on throwing at a lightning pace, which he was doing, the thing could have been over in 3 minutes for television, I think. They wouldn't have got a programme. We've got one thing in our side today, one advantage. We can ask the man himself. We've got with us the Surrey and England player, Richie Gardner. Let's talk to him about it.
Come in, Rick.
All right, Richie.
Well done.
Nice to see you, Richie.
How's the darts going? Are they coming along?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
I think you'll agree that was a classic final. It was a pity somebody had to lose.
Yes, it was a shame, yeah. Especially on my point of view.
The thing what we're trying to get over to the people at home is that can a player throw him very, very fast, put a player off very slow, and vice versa? Is it classed as gamesmanship by either side?
I think that clip showed exactly what you're talking about. You was throwing much faster in the first set, and I was in command in the first set, where you was throwing a lot slower in the second set and the third, and consequently made me throw slower, and you eventually won out the winner.
That's right. If I'd have carried on playing as fast as I was in the first one, I'd have been out of the game 2-0.
That's quite right.
And fortunately for me, it worked the other way around, and I got back in.
That's right. That's exactly.
Well, thanks a lot, Richie. We'll see you later on. I'm sure we will, because we've got a little something in store. We're going to see you throw a few darts. I'm sure we are. And I think, Phil, I mean, you've really...
Excellent.
Really done it right. I mean, I'm sure we've learnt you all we can. I think now I think your best
Well,
bet's
what
to
I'm
get
gonna
off
do-
down your pub and...
Absolutely. What I'm going to do now, John, is take all the advice you've given me. I hope that I've got an advantage over my next opponent, and hopefully my next opponent will be you in the final of the World Champion, something like that.
Great.
Thanks
I
very
hope
much
you do
indeed for
well.
all your help, John.
See you later, Richie.
Thanks, Phil.
Take care, Richard.
Thanks,
And before we all sort of finish off, we've got a little bit of something that could whet your appetite for a future thing, what we're going to do. We're going to put a series of games, we're going to put all together what we've done today, all the learning of darts, everything that we hope can make a champion. I'm going to put that together in a series of games that we play a pentathlon. This will last for 90 minutes and it'll be your chance to play against me. I'll tell you how it works. It'll be I'll throw 3 darts, and then there'll be a pause in the tape, which will give you a chance to throw your 3, and so on, right down to the finish of the game. If you get to the double, if it's a 5-1 game before I do and finish, then you'll be the champion. This will go on over a series of round the board on doubles, how quick you can get 15 bullseyes, halve it, Shanghai, leave it, and any other game that we can fit in that make up the modern game of darts. To whet your appetite for this, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy this, now's your chance to pitch your hand against Richie Gardner, the England and Surrey player, over a game of 5-1. To put into practice what we've done today, we're going to let you play 5-1 with a difference. It's got to be your pub game, double start, double finish. I all wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you'll next time play against me.
$56. $140. $60. $22. $121. $70 scored. Yes, game shot.
Well done, Richie.
Hey, John.
That's great. Craftsman at work, I'm sure. Anybody who beats you on that sort of throwing, well, I think they can be proud of themselves, to be quite honest. And I think that gives the people a chance to see what we're going to do on the next tape. And by the way, remember, the next tape will be available on video cassette from your local stockist, like this one was.